Good morning, friends. Prepared Suburbanite. Back at you with today's thought. Well, first of all, today is the official first day of spring. Yep, it's March 19th, and I think at like 9:20 this morning, we crossed that line, and it's now spring. And we had light frost overnight. So leading into spring, we had a little bit of a frost. I don't think it did any damage to the veggies that we've got planted in the garden, but it was sure close. When I got up this morning, I looked at the thermometer and it said dead on 32 degrees, but that was at about 5 o'clock this morning. It's warmed up now. It's probably 38, and so we're just kind of dealing with it. But anyway, here's what I wanted to get into today. I watched Dan Bongino's show yesterday, and he made a very relevant point, and something that I really hadn't thought about in depth, and it's pretty darn important. And the whole concept is, and you've probably heard this term, that all politics is local. And the way he described it from his perspective, it really got me to thinking. So stick around, I'll get into some detail. So all politics is local. Now, I always thought that just sort of meant that, yeah, you got to pay attention to your local elections, your local ballot, whoever's running for county commissioner, who's running for the local judge seats in your municipality, who's running for this office or that office, city councilors, county commissioners, that kind of stuff. That's what I always thought politics is local is all about. And, I do spend some time whenever we have elections coming up, is to take a look at the local ballot and see what's going on. I'll research those folks that are running and make a decision on who I think is best going to represent our local area. So I just figured all politics is local, and that's where it starts. Well, that ain't what it means. How about that? Here's the deal. When folks are impacted directly by national issues, whether it would be crime or gun violence or immigration or pick one, if you're not affected directly by that, it's like, well, yeah, it doesn't really affect me, so I'm not going to pay a whole bunch of attention to it. I'm not going to research it. I'm not going to go look up articles on the internet about whatever the issue is. If it's not affecting me, then it may not be important. And that's what all politics is local really means. And let me tear that apart just a little bit and kind of share some of those other thoughts with you. When I've got a note here. Hold on. I got a note here. A few months ago, I saw an article, and it basically said that the top 1% of earners or the top 1% of the wealthy really think that Joe Biden's doing a pretty darn good job, particularly with the economy, because they're doing okay. Their stock portfolio is ticking upwards. Their dividend and interest incomes are right where they think they should be. And, so as far as they're concerned, as long as they're not affected by it, the effects of inflation and stuff like that, they think everything's just fine, and they're willing to continue to support the current administration because they're not getting hurt by any of those decisions. And they're well above being impacted by the gas prices or food prices, the prices of rent and all that. They're just simply not affected by it. And if it doesn't affect them, then the bottom line is they think everything else is just fine. Well, if it hits them directly and they become the victims of crime, or there are homeless shelters or homeless encampments, that's the right word, being erected in their posh neighborhoods, they will pay attention to that. That's where the local comes in. If you're affected by it directly, a national issue that's there and it hits you hard, then you're going to pay attention to it, and you're going to react to that particular situation. And it doesn't really matter what that situation is. If it's negatively impacting you locally, right here in your own homestead, that's when politics makes a difference. So all politics is local. Now, we've been talking about kind of national issues and all that, and it's painfully difficult to get accurate immigration numbers. Yeah, we can get them from 2021 and 2022 and all that, but I spent a few minutes this morning just trying to find out, because I keep hearing this 300,000 a month number. And that may be right, I don't know, but I can't seem to zero in on the source of that. The best piece of information that I was able to come up with was from December, data that was released in early January that said that the monthly was about 250, maybe 249, something like that. 249,000 came across the border illegally. Well, I guess if you see what's going on at the border, and you've been reading about all this continuing nonsense there, it's very possible that we could be somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000. But I can't find a solid stat. If you can find it, let me know. Just let me know in the comments where your source is for that, because I'd really like to know what the real number is, or at least the basis for this 300,000. So if those 300,000 people a month that are crossing our border, they're not impacting a lot of people. They're not impacting the movers and shakers, only if they want it to. So if they're not being impacted by this, if they don't see that they're being displaced by immigrants or illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, newcomers, whatever they want to call them, if they're not being displaced in their own homes by these folks, it doesn't affect them. If they've got a regular old job and they go to work every day and they don't come in contact with any homeless or illegal immigrants or anything like that, and they're just working in their bank or working in their investment brokerage house or whatever, and they don't come in contact with it, so it's not a big issue for them. And that's what the local is really all about. So I guess having been a fan for a number of years of Dan Bongino, He's got another saying out there, a question that he basically asked rhetorically, is it bad enough yet? And if it doesn't affect you, it's not bad enough yet. And that's what's going on. That's what I think some of this push is really all about. And they're trying to shield a lot of the folks that should be impacted by this, that should be aware of the devastating problems and the costs and the increase in taxes and the displacement of workers by the illegal immigrants that are pouring into our country right now. If they're not impacted, it's not really going to make any difference. And they shelter that kind of news. And that may be why I'm having some difficulty really trying to pin down what the numbers really are. I've seen all kinds of stuff out there, but I can't find that 300,000 a month figure. Anyway, all politics is local. Well, I used to think what it meant, and I spent quite a lot of time making sure that I understood what was going on in my local district as far as who was running for what office. But that's not what it means. All politics is local means, does it affect you? This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see y'all on the next video.